Yes. Okay, so we're recording.
Okay.
Um, thing is, I might be editing some things because all right.
Okay.
Hi everybody, it's RJ Martin here back with another episode of Sips and Chill with RJ, and I have a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kay Phillips. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm De La Fantastica. I'm not on TikTok. Sorry, but that's me.
Me neither. I'm not on TikTok either. All right. So I met Miss K, you guys, through like the Elvis community. We've had this discussion, very few sisters in the Elvis world. And she's one that I was able to just grasp onto, like one of the sweetest ones, the coolest ones. And again, I want to say thank you because we met last year at Elvis Week and we did the candlelight visual. And I did not have a
Yes.
ride back. And her husband, Mr. Billy, am I right, Mr. Billy?
Yep.
They gave me a ride back to my hotel because we had been in that line for so long, and I'm still so grateful to you guys.
Oh gosh, that was truly a bonding experience, let me tell you. So, yeah, anybody who was there that year, yeah, we were instant friends. We sweated together. We cried together. It was great.
Never forget it. I know a lot of people are going back. Sadly, this year I am not going to be able to make it back. But my cousin wanted to take me on a cruise the week of Elvis week. So
Yeah,
hey,
well,
I almost was like, no, but I'm none of my first cousin club wants to go to Elvis week. They're sick of me and my Elvis love.
yeah. Yeah, I can relate. I can
hmm
relate.
We
My
are gonna
friends and
pray.
family are sick of it.
We are gonna pray for them
Yeah.
because they don't get it.
And then we'll convert them.
I've been trying, okay? I was able to get my brother converted, kind of. Jaheim,
Hmm.
he just turned 21. Um, I was like, let me just get you to watch some movies. He likes comedies, and he said, does Elvis have any funny movies? And I said, we need to watch Follow That Dream. And he was like, okay, now this was a good movie. I was like, I told you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's too many misconceptions about him, and unfortunately they're all a little bit louder than the truth sometimes. So you got to
Mhm.
get the people away from the other folks one by one and convert them that way. It's really hard to convert the masses.
True. And it's okay. We're gonna forgive them. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
ask, how did you become an EP fan?
So just like a lot of people, I think in our community, you grew up with the stories about Elvis and about how he was a flaming racist, and there's nothing that a black person could do but buy his records and shine his shoes. Like that was the thing, right? So I grew up just assuming that that's who he was, and we're not going to talk about him. And then my husband, he likes to watch movies at night when I'm trying to sleep. So he puts on the Elvis movie, the one with Austin Butler.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, are we seriously watching this right now? Like, first of all, I know it's going to be a long movie. I heard it was a long movie, and he's such a big personality. I knew it was going to be a lot of information, and I don't like a lot of that stuff when I'm trying to go to sleep. So I was like, no. And then on top of that, it was Elvis. Are you serious right now? Like, we're really watching this? So, long story short, I stayed up and watched the whole thing with him. And at the end of the movie,
Ah,
I was like, you know, when they cut from Austin Butler playing the piano to Elvis playing the piano,
yes.
and like I had come in like halfway through the movie, so I wasn't like super invested, but I come, halfway through. And then of course I had been griping for a good like 20 minutes through that too, so I didn't even hear a lot of it.
Oh, okay.
But when by the time that happened, and I don't know if this is a testament to like the story or to Austin Butler's acting or Baz Luhrmann's direction, but by the time they got to that cut, I was in tears.
Mm,
I was like, this is such a tragedy.
yeah.
But all this information that I had no idea. And I didn't even and I felt bad because I never even seen him as a person. He was just like a concept. And so yeah, and then I said, let me deep dive, let me try, and I got super hyper focused like I do on some topics, and I was like, all right, so everything Elvis. And the first book I got was Destined to Die, and or Destined to Die Early, something
Destined to
like that.
die young.
Die Young, thank you.
Hmm hmm
And I read that in one day, and then I read the Memphis Mafia one. Basically, I didn't sleep for
Oh,
48 hours.
okay.
I didn't sleep for 48 hours. And
Oh.
I read those two books. And then after that, I kind of like leveled off into fandom. But yeah, I jumped in like head first.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me tell you my story because when we are in the Black community, that is the thing. But let me also say this because my grandma told me, because I know I listened to old records with them, but I didn't
Hmm.
know until after my grandpa passed. My grandma, I got my family to watch the Elvis movie, and my grandma
Hmm.
was with me, and she said, "You know, your granddaddy had an Elvis record back in the day." And I said, "I didn't know that." I've listened to a
Mm,
lot of songs with him, and I mean, he had to re-get these because I guess somewhere along the way he lost all his records, so he
yeah.
rebought them into the CD form. And my
Hmm.
grandma had an old record player, and somehow they got her a big, before she got sick from a stroke, she bought a four-way player, which is a vinyl player, CD player, a cassette tape player, and a regular old radio, and
Oh,
we were
wow.
listening to music, and we never did that part. But for me, my mom and my aunt are big Elvis fans. I think my aunt's bigger than my mom. My mom's more like a really big Prince fan, but she loves Elvis.
Yeah.
Um, so is them that got me into Elvis. But watching the Austin Butler movie in 2022, that made me want to learn more. And that got
Yeah.
me to where I am now. So
Right. Did you see that for you anyway? Because I think it was maybe the same for me. But did you find that at first you were like, oh, I love his music. And then you watched the movie and you were like, I want to know more about him as a person. Did you feel like that? Because I kind of felt that a
I
little bit.
did. Yeah, it was because like before, it's for me it's a before Elvis 22 and an after Elvis 22. Before Elvis
Hmm.
22, it was I own 5 of his songs. I own 4 of his
Yeah.
movies. I probably had seen 8 of his movies. I did not disrespect Elvis at all. I liked Elvis,
Yeah.
but I did not love him like I do now. And there were things I
Yeah.
didn't know that connected me to him. Um, it it's just so much. And then after I was 22, it was like, okay, we need to learn more about this man because I didn't know like all that love that he had and everything that he gave of himself, and like
Yeah.
his beautiful story. Sadly, even because we all have mamas, so we all know what it would be like to lose one if we truly
Right.
loved as much as he loved Gladys. I've almost lost my mom, but I know it's not the same as in losing your mother. We've had, mama bless my mom, close calls.
Yeah.
When she was pregnant with my little brother Jade, 20 years ago, they almost died.
Both of them?
Yes,
Oh
Jade was
my
a
God.
premature baby. She had just had my other little brother who just turned 21 a year prior. She got
Hmm.
pregnant again right after that. And then it was like her blood pressure was high. She almost had a heart attack. Like, no, she had a heart attack. They had to take Jade from her to save
Oh
the
my,
both of them.
oh my
So,
gosh.
so yeah, so I know what a close call is, but Elvis lost his mama. So, and
Yeah.
everything, because like for me, a part in that movie that made me want to cry when I first saw it in theaters was the part, and I was like, that's not Austin Butler anymore. That was Elvis talking. Is when he said we're gonna lose Graceland, and his eyes, he's blinking like, what did he just say? And then he starts
Yeah.
destroying the room, and he starts yelling,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he said he takes 50% of everything I make, and now he
Yeah.
wants to take the house that we bought for Mama. And I was like, that was not Austin Butler talking or acting. That was Elvis Presley possessing him because he knew what that felt like.
Can we just talk about the way that you said that line? I can tell that you've seen that movie more than 9 times.
Yes, girl. Oh
You
my
said
goodness.
it in the exact same way. Now he wants to take the home that we built for mama.
Right. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I keep telling people, like, Elvis is
Oh,
like, because even my little brother
yeah,
Jade, the 20-year-old, like, he has a respect for Elvis and me.
yeah.
So he does not say anything because I also respect him and Juice World, something I'm still trying to understand, him and Juice World. And
Oh,
he said, Elvis was one of us, though, Jordan. Like, he was one of us.
yeah,
Because, I mean, he grew up in the ghetto. So he
yeah.
understood. He knows. And something my mom told me, and we had to get that straight. She was the one that told me she believed Elvis was racist. And then when I got to college, I was like, Mom, where'd you get that from? Like it clicked in my mind. I need to tell you, she got it from a movie that he was racist, but nothing else. She didn't hear any of the other accounts that you were talking about. And I said, Mom, he was
Yeah.
acting. That
Yeah.
wasn't him at all.
No, no. In fact, I
Right.
had to ask my mom, well, not my mom, my dad. And I realized in the community, like when I heard these echoes, you kind of have to consider the source, and you have to do
Right.
that with a lot of stuff, like when you just hear rumors. But after watching the movie and like talking to my dad and talking to other family members, I was like, where did you hear that? Where did you hear that? Where did they hear that from? And something, I think I read this, that it wasn't like Black women never had a problem with Elvis. So maybe there might have been a little like, how dare you come in here and look that good and try and, we got it over here, just
Take our women thing.
leave us alone. Yeah. And so, so when I asked, because when I asked my dad, where'd you hear? Oh, well, everybody knows that. Really? Everybody? Okay. Well, then who did everybody hear it from? And nobody knows where they heard it from. It's just something that's like circulating in the air. So for me, because I'm knee deep in school, like a perpetual student, I'm always
Mhm.
like, cite your sources. Who said that? So if you can't cite your sources, then we're not going to perpetuate that. And then there's so much more information. Like the deeper you dig, there's so much more information about him that's like to the contrary. Like he had Jerry Schilling and Myrna living in his house, and the colonel was like, I don't think that's a good idea because blah blah blah. And Elvis was like, and these are my friends, so I do what I want. And then there's that famous story about him sticking up for the Sweet Inspirations at that concert in
In
Houston.
Texas, at the Texas Dome, yeah.
Yeah, in Texas. And there's so many other stories down to I think the latest, this was like in later Elvis years, I want to say like 75 to 77. What was her name?
You
The
talking about
college student.
Maggie?
Maggie, the college student.
Girl, okay, let me tell you, that's one of my favorite stories. So I read Nancy Rooks, that's the cook
Me
that
too.
wrote that
Yeah.
book. Her words
Yeah.
were she was his girlfriend.
So I
Now,
remember reading that.
now
Yes.
there are people who are saying no, they were just friends. She helped take care of Lisa Marie. She answered the phones at Graceland. But according to Miss Rooks, and Black women have nothing to lie about.
And she was
They
always there.
they were together, and I'm gonna like. There's some people I will fight on that, but I'm like, because even my
Listen.
cousin, when we went to go watch the movie, she looked at the screen. She's like, Austin's fine, but Elvis was really sexy, and she said he had some black women. They just don't know about it yet.
And the colonel was so big on that kind of thing. Like they touched on it in the movie, like they alluded to him saying that they would never put a colored boy on the hayride and all that other stuff. They alluded to that in the movie. But when you read those books, like Nancy's book and all these other books, the colonel was very big on, like, he seemed like a late convert to integration kind of thing.
Oh,
Like
he
he
definitely
was
was.
still, and he was trying to protect his bottom line. He was trying to protect all of that. And so I think that it would have been against the brand if that had ever gotten out. And so, and as tight-fisted as people say that Vernon was with the money, why would he pay Maggie to do her homework? Why would that be?
A
Is
thing.
that is that worth a salary? Like, are you
Mm.
serious? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just
Mhm.
it's kind of weird to me. Like, cheap Vernon. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but if
No,
Vernon was
no,
cheap, if Vernon was cheap, I don't see him saying, okay, yeah, I'm going to pay this college student to sit here and answer the phones, because there were other secretaries. There were other people to do that.
right,
I mean, how many phones were in there? You know what I'm saying?
right.
And she apparently, according to the one that the lady that just passed, the nurse,
I know who you're talking
according,
about, but I don't
yeah.
know the name, but I know who you're talking about.
So there's a little interview clip where she's talking about Maggie. And according to her, Maggie's job was to sit at the dining room table. And I'm not trying to be like a super sleuth or anything, but you mean to tell me that there was a phone at the dining room table if she was hired to answer the phones? then why would the nurse say that her job was to sit at the dining room table and her phone at the dining room table?
Hmm.
So you mean to tell me that, you know what I'm saying? Like, so her job was to do her homework, and Vernon was somehow persuaded to put her on the payroll. So to me,
Is it me or is it a conspiracy? EP conspiracy. And it's okay.
it,
It's okay. We know the
that's my
truth.
conspiracy dance. You know what I mean?
We know the truth. We know the
It's
truth.
like a,
It's okay.
yeah, because like even back in the day, I don't know if you want to edit this part out or not, but like back
Oh,
in the day, when someone, when you know, in the southern states, if someone had a wife, and then the woman in the field that he would somehow sneak out to see, she would travel with them or whatever. If she, you know, oh, she's taking care of my children. Oh, she works for me. She don't work
mm-hmm.
for you.
Mm-hmm.
And where did all those kids come from? And why do they look like that?
Wow.
But Maggie worked for you. But I don't think that, I don't think his fan base and I don't think the brand probably would have survived that.
Possibly. Who
So
is it? If you are you still learning EP? Are you still like reading books and stuff?
mhm.
Do not read Alana Nash. The first book I read was Baby Let's Play House by her. And
Oh, I read that one. Mhm.
okay, so never mind. First it was like I only believe 40% of this book. I only believe it. Or
Mhm.
60%, because 40% is wrong. And the 40% I'm talking about is Elvis never was able to talk to black women. And then she was like, it's because of the time he grew up in. And I said, Myrna admitted later, God rest her soul, that he tried to like go out with her and tried to like let's go to Palm Springs, where he took all his girlfriends.
Right.
Even before her and Jerry officially got together, Jerry even said, hey, let's go to Palm Springs, just you and me. And I mean, she said no, but I mean, her and Jerry ended up getting married later, like going to prom springs
Right.
and everything. That was the thing. But
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
Laurie Nash, I'm not really fond of her anyway. She also described Elvis as the, what was it, the 60s and 70s version of R. Kelly.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I thought it was judgmental, and her books are the ones, because there's just two major ones I think, and they
Mhm.
all include like quotes from the Memphis Mafia.
Yes, yes.
And and I base my ranking of the members of the Memphis Mafia on what was said. And during that whole part about Elvis couldn't talk to black girls, or they would have base parties or whatever, and he would never dance with the black girls, or he would never, you remember that part? He
I
would never dance
do,
with the
but
black girls.
he danced with Myrna and he offered to
Did.
dance with Myrna. He said he asked Myrna to dance, and I actually would go back to Dixie Locke, that was his first major
Yeah,
girlfriend. She
yeah.
said he would only dance with her when it
Mm-hmm.
was a slow song, but he would, because he was such a shy person and he's doing
Yeah.
it in front of everybody, he would be a little like nervous kind of, so he would shake.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
Myrna said when even though he asked her to dance, he was
Mm-hmm.
shaking.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah. See, I mean, it all works out. And but I think that there's certain people, and you know, just to keep it 100, there's certain people even in the community now, our age, when you bring up that kind of stuff, they are like, time out. There is no way. And it's like, wait, hold on now. Wait a minute. Now, there's no way that anybody can say, no, absolutely not. There's no way anybody can say that, because you weren't there all the time and you weren't there for the private conversations, and you don't know what was going on in his head. But we can say that he liked women, period.
oh yeah,
Because
definitely.
remember in the 50s, is it Tempest Storm and a couple of other like showgirls and that kind of thing. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Tempest Storm is Asian or part Asian or something like that. Like when you look at the Rita Moreno is Puerto Rican. So when and let's not forget that Darlene Love is not shy about telling her story. And
That's
that was in,
right.
and that was in, yes, and that was in the late 60s. We're not even talking about, you know, 8 years later with Maggie, we're talking about the 68 comeback special era.
Right. Right.
So for
Right.
somebody to be like, oh, he would never, are you sure about that?
According to Darlene Love, if you don't know, she said he was
This is my
like,
favorite story.
first
Let
of
me get
all,
a sip.
oh my goodness, I could not imagine a fine man as Elvis brush up on me and be like, I never dated a black woman before. But then for Darlene to be like, and you're not dating one now, had him laugh because he was like, yeah, we can be friends, but baby, that's as far as it goes with you and me. I mean, even
Okay.
Myrna said that. Like, she was like, we had our little eye thing that we did to one another, but it never went any further. Because it's like, God forgive me, this best way I can say it. She knew her place. She knew that was her boss.
Yes,
Yes, he was a
yes, that's the
friend, and
boss.
yes, she did see him as a brother, but
Mhm.
she knew Elvis. She knew Elvis like to mess around with everybody. So, like she said, it was easier for her and Jerry to actually hook up and get together than it
Right,
would be for her to hook up with Elvis one or two times.
right. And then later on, because we're keeping it 100 and Elvis is no saint, the way that he treated apparently Kathy Westmoreland after that, like after they had hooked up or whatever, and then she had decided to explore other options, he did not take it well.
Oh no, no.
And,
Mm-mm.
as far as trying to humiliate her on stage and stuff like that is, you know what I mean? I think Myrna, and I would never say this for anything else that had to do with Elvis, but at that point, I think Myrna dodged a bullet because if he did not take it well, and she would have been fired,
Right,
or worse,
right.
would have been like Kathy on stage having to smile through insults because again, that's her boss.
Well, he did say something about the sweet inspirations and the two. Okay, so because Sissy Houston got well, Elvis didn't fire her. The Sweet Inspirations fired her because of John Houston. And if you ever know anything about Whitney Houston and how he did things, it makes
Mhm.
sense why they got rid of him.
Okay.
So then who's left? You got Myrna, Sylvia, and Estelle. So he said some underhanded, nasty stuff, not just to Kathy, but to the rest of them. Myrna did her job and she stayed on stage. After he had even like some really harsh, cold stuff on women in general. And Myrna stayed and backed him up as a singer. So I give her respect for that. And the thing is, sadly, Elvis doesn't apologize. What he does is he'll give you something expensive. He gave Myrna a $3,200 ring.
What?
Girl. Okay, so I had to read, you have to read the Bible of Elvis. I hate to say it that way, but it's literally the Bible of Elvis. Is the Old Testament is called Last Train to Memphis. New Testament is
Yeah.
called Careless Love. I'm being honest with you. That's what
What
it
is
is.
the Old Testament called? Let me write it down.
It's called Last Train to Memphis, The
Okay.
Rise of Elvis Presley. And let me let you
Okay.
know, when I first read it, I was bored with the first two chapters because
Yeah.
it's it's reading it like you don't know who Elvis is. So you have to
Right.
get to know who he is. You have to know his family. So I was bored reading the first two chapters and I put the book down for like a month, 2 months, and I said, I can't read this.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know what? I'm gonna finish reading it. And it picks up around chapter 3, because that's when they moved to Memphis. That's when he goes to Sun Studios, and the whole story. That's when the shebang happens. And
Yeah.
it gets good after that. So then you go to chapter New Testament, Careless Love, and it says that like how he vocally mistreated people on stage, mainly, like you said, Kathy Westmoreland, the Sweet Inspirations. Myrna stayed on stage, and as a gift for when he was disrespectful, he gave her that ring. Myrna did an interview, which is where I got a lot of my info from Myrna. I'm so mad at her for not writing a book, but it's okay.
Yeah.
um, she said that Elvis gave her a $3,200 ring, but that's an engagement ring.
Yeah, it is.
That's nowadays, was that a down payment on a car? That's a down
Yeah.
payment on a house. That's down payment
Yeah.
on rent. And he gave that to her. But she said, I can't keep this. She kept it for like 12 hours and said, I can't keep it. It's too expensive. Gave it back to him. He gave it to someone else. He gave it to someone in the crowd. Like he threw it out. He's like, you want a ring? Here's a ring. Then what he did is he gave her a car, a brand new 1974 Eldorado.
Dang. Okay.
And she said she kept the car because he threw the ring in the crowd. If she gave the car away, what was he going to do with the car? You know what I'm saying? That's her words. Her
Right.
words. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah. He's such a polarizing figure, but I think that's what makes him so interesting because he is a person. Like, I'm glad nobody walks around, following me and recording everything that I say and taking all these pictures of me. Like, my career wouldn't even get off the ground because they'd be like, oh, she's grimy, you know. But we all can't be defined by our worst moment.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Our honesty. I
Yeah.
I do love EP. It's just I think he's this they want to say he's the second most photographed man of the 20th century, followed by Walt Disney. And I was like, really?
Y'all sure about that?
That's what I
Yeah.
was thinking. I'm like, are y'all sure Elvis isn't the most photographed? Because he's better looking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's really not, I haven't seen how many pictures are there of Walt Disney? Like, honestly, I
they
haven't gone through
say
like
hundreds, like
of Walt Disney.
hundreds of pictures. I didn't realize that there would be hundreds of pictures of Walt Disney, but there are hundreds of pictures of Walt Disney. I'm like more of Elvis Presley though, from literally age 19 to
Yeah.
age 42.
Right. And there's like a couple of pictures. Like there's one picture, it's one of my favorites. Apparently, it's right outside the hardware store where he got his bike from.
Yes.
And some lady, I guess she had like an extra film or whatever in her camera. And so she's like, well, let me just burn it up. And so she took a picture of a kid with his bike and it turned out to be Elvis. So he was like 14, 13, 14.
Hmm.
So he's been photographed forever. But you know what?
Yeah.
I heard a similar thing, and they said that Graceland is the second most visited
Yeah.
private residence behind the White House. And
Yes.
again, I'm like, you sure about that? You sure
Um, I believe it because the White House,
about
I mean, everybody goes to Graceland just about every day, just like people go to the White House every day.
that? Hmm.
I have no want. Maybe okay, I'm about to make some enemies. Maybe when Obama was in office, I would have went,
I
but not right
mean,
now.
have you ever been to DC?
I want to go. There's so many places I want to go. I haven't gone just yet.
Okay, so I'm about to make some enemies. So I used to live in Maryland, lived in Maryland forever. And I have been to DC and it is historic. But DC is a rough place. If
Ooh,
you have not, and the White House, it seems to be surrounded by maybe like a little bubble where they've got, of course, security and like gates and stuff, or like the temporary partitions set up so you can't get too close. But outside of that bubble, if you go into Washington D.C. and you have not done everything that you need to do by 2 o'clock, you need to just go ahead and get out and then let the sun set. And then when the sun rises, you come back in. But don't get caught lacking in DC.
I
That
have
is
heard
that
it
is
is a little dangerous. I've heard that.
yeah. Yeah, it's bad dangerous.
Which
And
they
that's
said
more
that
the
Memphis
same
is
place.
dangerous too. So I remember my first Memphis trip back in 2023.
Yeah.
Um, they told me and my mom don't travel after sunset. Don't stay on Bill Street after sunset. And we were literally right on Bill Street. And I was like, it was getting dark, and I said, Mom, I want to go take some pictures. And she said,
Yeah.
Marty, it's about to get dark. I said, I want to take pictures of the neon lights. And she was
Yeah.
like, okay, please be careful. And I said, I'll be fine. I was fine. It was literally
Uh,
March 17th, St.
yeah.
Patrick's Day. Everybody's just there trying to have a good time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So I got lost in the crowd. It was great. I took pictures. I
Yeah.
got a drink. And so yeah. I have seen some dirty things that I can't say on here. Maybe I'll talk to you later about them that did happen when I was on Bill Street. That
Yeah.
like people were like, and I was by myself at the time. That was last year during Elvis week.
Yeah.
When I went down there, I saw something. And yeah.
Yeah. I've heard that Memphis as a whole, and like last year when we went for Elvis Week last year, um, like I was kind of driving around and just kind of looking for food spots that I'd seen online and things. And there was a lot of stuff that I drove by and was like, mm,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not getting out of the car here. We're gonna just find a drive-through because I'm not getting out of the vehicle. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, but Graceland is, I mean, that's cool, and it's almost like on a little planet by itself. So I like it.
Girl, Graceland is literally a patch of heaven in the middle of the
It
ghetto.
is, yes. And there's something for everybody. Like that's the cool thing about Elvis Week. Like there's something for everybody. Like my husband and I went up last year. This is his first. Well, this is his first time going. His first time inside the house. But he went, and he's not an Elvis fan at all. Like he just tolerates my thing, right? He likes watching movies, so he just happened to put that movie on. But he went, and he's kind of sort of a convert now because he got to hear about all of the charitable work that he did, and he was like, "Wow, why doesn't anybody know about this?" And I said, "Well, it's a shame that nobody knows about it because imagine how many other people could see him as more than just a caricature if they could know about all the great things that he did." But one of the good things, and as much as I hate to give the Colonel credit for anything,
Mm, mm-hmm.
ugh, it's just a bad taste in my mouth even saying this.
Mm,
But the genius of the Colonel
mm,
is that he kept Elvis the entertainer as something very palatable, very easy to digest, very like if you're writing a screenplay and you have a log line, he kept them as a log line. Everybody can digest a log line, which means that you reach the masses. And so by keeping it surface, I think that added to the longevity
mm-hmm.
of Elvis. And of course, that he's a human, so he's done all these other things and all these wonderful things and not so wonderful things. But the Colonel kept him as something that was easily digestible, easily like recognizable, and so that made his life like it made him last. Ugh,
Yeah.
ugh, just
Yeah. I also think another reason he's still here, Lisa Marie and Priscilla, um, they didn't, the love of his fans, they didn't want that to just go away.
no.
Um, he's immortal because of that. And to quote Iggy Azalea, real guys never die. Well,
Yeah.
let's just call him a legend.
See?
Hey, that's what she said. Put your hands in the sky. Don't leave for feel the dive. They want to bury me alive, but y'all didn't know real gods never die.
Oh my
And
God.
I mean, I'm a
Why was I
Christian,
just listening to that earlier this week?
so I'm a
I love that
Christian.
song.
So, my heavenly Father first, which I love. Something also, I love a humble man. I love a Christian man. Elvis was
Yeah.
those things, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And even when people be like, "You're the king," and he was like, "No, that's Jesus," I'll be like,
Right.
"Sexy." All of it,
Yes. Yes.
add it all
But
together.
he was
Yeah.
also like, God's the king, but don't forget about me now.
Right.
I'm
He
still like,
he knew. Like,
yeah,
and
he
what's
did.
sad is he didn't know his own power until he got older. It was like the girl screaming when he gets on stage,
Yeah.
and that poor thing, he was so shy. He ran back off stage. What did I do? He was like, you did
Right.
nothing. You were just you.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was like, because he wouldn't get in that play in high school. Oh, now I get that play.
Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. So what is it? That's the way it is. I
Yes,
think
I love that.
that's the way it is. You can really tell that he has got that because this is after the 68 comeback special where he was nervous and he was like, are the people still gonna want me? And then when the people wanted him, when That's the Way It Is came out, he was just like, I got this in the bag. Like the entire thing. Like there's so much confidence in that, in that special. I love that one. That's one of my favorites.
It's one of mine too. Yeah.
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 Elvis on Tour is good,
Right.
but not no.
Realize Elvis on Tour happens during his divorce to Priscilla, and most people I know, people are not fond of her, and I do my best to
Yeah.
respect her because we have to thank her for Graceland and Lisa Marie, because without her, Lisa
Yeah.
Marie wouldn't be here.
Right.
And then her grandchildren wouldn't be here. His grandchildren wouldn't be here if it
Mhm.
wasn't for her. So
Yeah.
there's really during Priscilla and then after Priscilla, and we see his health decline. Um,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
rejection bothers us all, and it showed in him that it bothered him. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
And my thoughts about Priscilla, like what I said before, if I had people following me and being in the public eye, and I'm going to be judged by my worst moments and by my best moments, and eh, you know, it's hard. It's easy to say I don't like her, because I don't know her. I don't know her, and I don't know what she was going through. I don't know what she was going through. Because she also has a vested interest in protecting the brand. And so I wonder, if I'm trying to look at all sides of it, I wonder if maybe there are stories that she's not telling because
uh, ooh.